Welcome to the Beauty in Burnt Toast, the podcast where we celebrate the crispy, chaotic, unexpectedly beautiful parts of life. I'm Jade.
And I'm Jamie. We're two women doing our best to live with purpose, laugh through the mess, and talk about the stuff that no one puts on Instagram.
Here you'll find real stories, unfiltered conversations, and reminders that perfection is overrated, but showing up, that matters.
And whether you're building a business, raising humans, chasing healing, or just trying to remember what day it is, you belong here.
So pour the coffee, reheat the toast, and let's get into it. This is the Beauty in Burnt Toast. Hey guys, welcome back to the Beauty in Burnt Toast. Today we have with us John Bentley. He is a leadership expert, speaker, author, and advocate for mindset and self-growth. Welcome, John.
Hey, thanks for having me. And if you haven't figured it out yet, I'm burnt toast and they're beauty.
Oh my goodness.
Oh, that's great. Thank you so much for being here this morning. We're so excited to hear some practical tips from you.
Yes, ma'am. I got a lot of them when it comes to burnt toast. Two burnt toast stories just this week.
Oh my goodness.
That I'm still wrestling with a little bit.
Isn't that life?
It is, really is.
So today's episode is Jesus Loves You, so maybe you should too. We're talking about positivity and self-talk, what goes on upstairs. Not always great, right?
Not great at all. And I loved how you mentioned to me also that even those of us have a lot of confidence and we're doing well in life, we still have those thoughts that cause us to slip, trip, and fall.
Yeah, for sure. So tell us a little bit about who you are.
Yeah, and I could start every in all kinds of ways. And my three heroes were Dad, Mom, and Granny growing up. And this is back in the 60s, early 70s. We were on the north side of the little small county, and we got bused to school. So the only time I was around really other people or families was during school. So my whole life, the way I thought about life and the way I behaved even as an adult was shaped by them. So I spent 21 years in the Air Force, retired in March of 2003, did a 20-year career as a Department of Defense civilian. And now my whole goal is just to go out and speak to folks, whether it's fee or free, just to help them recognize there's greatness in them. And a lot of times it's the stories that become strongholds in our lives that hold us prisoners to the past that prevent us from being a pioneer in our future.
Oh, wow, that's good. Yeah.
So we're diving into something we all struggle with, like I said, even the confident ones. Like John said, the way we all talk to ourselves. I know for me, I seem to struggle more with rumination of the past instead of, I guess, being my own worst critic. Just letting your mind go down that rabbit hole, or I should have done this, what if this, but that's still negative self-talk. So how did you get to where you are today? Like when I first met you, I'm like, there's no way. Like this is not for real. This guy is not this positive all the time. But the more I'm with you, it is very true. I mean, that is just who you are from what I see at least.
Well, it's amazing because I got told quite a bit during my Air Force career. For the first 6 months I knew you, I thought you were the most fakest person I've ever met in my life. The more I'm around you, though, I see that's who you are. Now, that doesn't mean I still don't slip, trip, and fall, or I have those moments. But for me, it started back in my 10-year anniversary in the Air Force. It was April 9th, 1992. And Russell White, I was sitting in my office kind of like we're here. Most respected person in the organization, had a Coke can. Hey, John, this is you. I went, yeah, okay. Until he started shaking it like this. He said, when you pop your top, when things don't go your way, you spew all over people.
Oh, wow.
And until you learn to lead yourself, you'll never earn the right to lead others. You will struggle, stay frustrated, and limit your opportunities for success. And then you turn around and walk out.
Wow.
And I'm sitting there like a punch in the gut. All the air left my body. And then I'm thinking, wait a minute, I'm leading a team. I'm juggling all these requirements, and I think I'm doing the best I can. But in reality, in that moment, it hit me that I was coming from a place of insecurity. That I was leading from a place of insecurity, destroying trust, pushing people away that I'm supposed to serve and are supposed to help me. And I just sat there for that moment. And that day I vowed to understand why I spiral out of control. And when I do something, what I call a mental model, you map out your life and look at all the significant events, whether they were good, bad, or indifferent. I went back and listened to how Dad spoke with me. And in the 60s, this is probably natural for a lot of people, 60s, 70s. In fact, finish this statement for me if you both know it. Children are to be seen and
Not heard.
So I learned to be invisible. I learned to be invisible.
Yeah.
In fact, I played outside a lot by myself.
Yeah.
Had great conversations with fake friends, right? And then you also heard, don't cry or I'll give you something to
Cry about.
So I was told I can't express myself.
Yeah.
And then also, this is going to hurt me more than it
Hurt you.
So here I
Gosh.
am, 7 to 10 or 12, and I'm going, the man I love, what am I doing to hurt you? And I'm the one experiencing the pain.
Yeah.
And so that turned into Mom coming around and correcting things before Dad would get home to make sure he wouldn't come home and be upset or mad. And then I learned this story that, wow, no matter what I do, somebody's got to correct my mistakes. And so by being able to see that, it helped me say, wait a minute, is that the truth? And if it's not the truth, then what do I do? And that's where I learned to rewrite my story. Because if you rewrite your story, that is the beginning of leading yourself well. And I had a great role model, Granny. She was full of wisdom. She would not force you or come around and rescue you. She'd have a conversation with you to get you to think. And some of her favorite sayings that still stick with me is, Eddie was my nickname, named after Dad. Eddie, life is nothing but a series of problem-solving activities. You get to choose how you respond. And another one she would say, remember, life's fundamental. And if you're not having fun, it's mental. So she was a disruptor of your thought patterns. I brought home a report card, raving, my first year in high school, freshman, 2 C's, 2 D's, 2 F's.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
And Dad would come home from on the road, and he wanted to see what when he walked in the door.
Yeah, that report card.
And whose was on top because I was the oldest?
Oh, no.
And he picks that report card up, and we hear, Shirley, that's Mom, get that boy in here. And do you remember the sound of the belt coming out of the loops? That was next.
Yeah.
Fortunately, Granny was there. And she had a way of calming Daddy by tapping on his shoulders. He'd look her in the eye. Now, Johnny, we got to find out something positive about these 2 C's, 2 D's, 2 F's. Positive about this report card. Granny, you tell me, full of explicitives, what's positive about it? And here's what she said in a calm voice. Johnny, look at me. Look at me, Johnny. It's obvious. The boy didn't cheat. And it stopped him.
Yeah.
What do you mean? Well, do you think he'd have got these grades cheating off someone? I don't. Hey, why don't you tell John Jr. why education is so important for him from your perspective? And he did. I'm a truck driver. I'm gone all the time. I want him to be able to get a job where he can do what he wants to do. I don't like driving a truck because I'm not home with my family.
Yeah.
And that shifted the way I thought about education. Now, I wasn't a straight A student, but I did graduate with a B plus 88 average.
Heck
How
yeah.
many siblings did you have?
Oh my goodness, there was 5 of us.
Did he treat you all the same?
Primarily. Now, there was a set 10 years after I was born, Kevin, and then 4 years later, my sister. So I left home at 19, but the 3 of us, pretty much all the same.
Okay.
So that's just who he was. But when you think about the power of your childhood, even when your parents are just doing their best to create normalcy, is that a word in your life? That he was doing what he knew to do. See, his mom died at 2.5, giving childbirth to the 7th child. His dad shipped out some of the children to other family members back in the 30s, 1933 when that happened. And then his dad remarried a young lady, and they had, I believe, 7 daughters,
Wow.
almost as fast as you could have them, and moved away from Vinemont, where he was born. And I don't think he got the nurturing he needed, but he wanted me to know what success looked like from his perspective. So that shaped how I viewed myself and how I viewed the world. And it was, I'm not good enough. No matter how hard I try, it doesn't matter. So at 31, when that Coke can was shook, I said, something's got to change here, because that man delivered that not in a way that tore me down. It actually made me curious, and he cared about me. I didn't get it at that moment, but now when I look back, he cared about me. I'm going to pause there for a minute because I've been talking a lot.
Well, I think it's interesting because I feel like probably some of the toughest teachers and mentors that I had in my life were the most impactful. Like the people that I hated in the moment are the people now when I look back made me my best self.
Yes.
So, like I was in the marching band in UNA. Like that is not easy. It is not. And Dr. Jones, he was amazing. But in the moment, he was scary. Like, he would get up there and he would be like, you bunch of pansies, get it together. Like, there was just no sugarcoating it.
Right.
But he was great. And that's one of the best experiences of my life.
Sure.
So, yeah.
That's awesome. What you're reminding me of, and this is probably further down in the outline, so stop me if it is why is it do we take on those stories? And a lot of it is, I think, authority figures, people we care for, parents, they talk to us where it's conditional for doing, not non-conditional for being. So there's a word called Boomy. I'm Zulu. I'm probably getting that wrong. In fact, I practiced it before I came in, but didn't do well enough on it. But that's all right. See, I beat myself up there. And it means hello in Zulu, but there's a deeper meaning to it. It means I see you, and because I see you, I bring you into being.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
So if we're talking about, wow, I am so thankful you're here today, because when you're here, it's just amazing what we get accomplished. And because of you, we move things forward. And look at what you've done with growing a company. I can't imagine what that's like, but it comes from who you are, which led to what you do. So now we're talking.
It's so easy, right?
Yeah.
Oh, my goodness. No, it's so interesting because, Jade and I are both in the throes of parenting. And when you talk about, that the way you talk to your kids and the things that you say to them and how you redirect and things like that, that kind of stung deep in the heart, because I had a major burnt toast moment this weekend with my kids. I don't buy expensive makeup. I buy the cheapest, drugstore makeup you can get, because I think it's a waste of money and it's silly. Well, I have a 10-year-old that loves makeup. Loves it. And it drives me crazy. But I splurged and bought myself something a little more expensive than normal. And she used it all on Friday.
Uh-oh.
And I got home, and not only had she used it, but it was all over everything. And so my response was not good. I was very upset. And so I had to turn around and go back and apologize.
Yeah.
Because that's one thing that I remember the most about parenting, or being parented, is no apologies. No, you do what I say, and you do it immediately. And that's the end of it. And so hearing you say that, our parents only knew what they knew.
Yes.
And what they knew is not what we know. And having to change that self-talk in my own head has been a challenge just from that. Because both of my parents were pretty tough, pretty tough to live with. And I'm like, I want to do things differently. Not because necessarily the way they did things were wrong, but just because the things that pop up in my head is as a kid, I was X, Y, and Z. You know what I mean? And not
labeled.
Yes. And I remember that. And so that's been hard to overcome as an adult. But with Hunter this weekend, I was like, you've got to be kidding me. It's not like it was a direct attack against me from her, but I took it as that.
That's right.
So
I think it's interesting generationally too, to see how you better your children. So your parents are one way, and then you're a step up from your parents, and then your children are a step up from you, and it just hopefully gets better along the way. But I think the biggest part of that is having conversations with your children, and like you said, seen, not heard, but I want to hear my children. I posted on Facebook the other day, I had laid down with Rowan at bedtime, and I'm just like, what do you love about yourself?
Wow.
And he's like, I love that I'm creative and that I'm loving and that I'm kind. And he was just smiling and he was like, I love that I have a great family.
Oh my
Come on
goodness.
now.
And
Oh my
was
goodness.
just,
Good for you.
I'm like, don't cry.
Those conversations change you, like
Right.
make you feel more positive about yourself hearing it from them.
And I hope it also lets you know that how great of a mom you are and a parent you are,
I
right?
try.
And I'll ask all of us to eliminate that word "try." You're doing,
Yeah.
right? Sometimes the
Same.
doing, sometimes
Marketing
sometimes
coach,
the
right?
doing isn't what we want.
Yeah.
Oh.
And we can learn from that and reflect on it. And it
Right.
does require, I think, rewriting the story. So I went to a 5-day Mastering Leadership Dynamics course, and it was theory in one room, but then you walk in another room with the thick carpet, the dim lights, and you filled out documentation, and they started asking you questions. And there was one lady there, young lady in banking. I won't need them tissues. Don't bring them tissues over here. And they started asking her, well, you say here that your parents taught you not to give up, that you never lose. Tell us a story about that. Well, swimming competition, states, and I've got a bad shoulder, but I just pushed through it and I won, and then I had to have surgery after that. You know what, though? I won because that's what they taught me. Mm-hmm. Well, how does that show up at work for you, Sarah? I'll just use that name, Sarah. What do you mean? Well, when people work with you and all of a sudden you've got this no-lose mentality, how do other people experience you? And she used the cuss words, give me those tissues, and the tears started flowing. So even though she was taught that you win, you focus, see how it can show up to where we're at people,
Yes.
not with people, when we get under pressure.
Let's go into a little bit about what you have experienced with what goes on inside your head and how you have learned to deal with that.
Yeah. We'll go back to the mental models. And I recently have written a book, we're in publishing now. It's titled I Lead Me, Choose Your Action, Earn Their Trust, Lead with Purpose. And I wrote a timeline from age 64 all the way back to my first memory, kind of like I did with the Coke can story, to where I'm 2.5. And I just mapped out all the events in my life that occurred. And from that, I chose 28 of those events to write my chapters from. And so the first thing I want to do is I want to figure out what moment in my life is driving that story. And it still goes back 9 times out of 10 to where I'm not good enough or not being able to express myself. If you won't let me speak, or if I see you interrupting someone, that's when I get engaged in a way that's not healthy. So part of it is, again, going to God's Word and saying, what's God say about me? He said, I'm wonderfully and woefully made. I don't remember the exact titles. But, I've been reading Genesis 1 over and over and over again. And with the You Are a Gift coin, gift stands for God's image, fulfill talent. And so you are made in God's image to fulfill your talent and service to others. And in verse 31 of Genesis 1, it said, God paused and looked at everything he made. This was before mankind started making things. And it was all good. So I like to think that I'm just going to pause and reframe what I'm thinking by praying and reading God's Word. Because it's the truth. And it just really gives me a sense of peace. And when we get to the burnt toast moment, I'll share more about that later.
So tell me this. This is, you got me
Okay.
cranking. 2 of my children are adopted.
Mm-hmm.
And one of the things that we've learned in therapy is to rewrite their story. We tell them their story and how they began because they did come to us through foster care. But I have one who continually feels not good enough, continually says, I'm a terrible person. My mom didn't want me. How do you change that?
It starts with something I call unconditional strokes. And we just talked about being. Unconditional strokes, just think stroke is what we say.
Right.
It's for being. Strictly being. Mm-hmm. So part of that is saying to your child what you appreciate about them just for being in your presence.
Right.
My Middle daughter, baby daughter,
Right.
moved in with a guy. I didn't like it. I just had a vibe about the young man. He was about 7 or 8 years older than her. And then one day we get the phone call to come pick her up that she's being kicked out. And all she could say was, I'm a failure. I'm a failure. I just pulled her in and said, baby doll, let me share with you how strong you are. And strong means being. You've faced skin cancer. You were bullied in school. And all that has shaped your character to make you a strong person that one day you're going to be able to use what you've gone through, what you've grown through to benefit others. Now, fast forward to when she went into the Air Force and she went to technical school. She was at ropes. I forget the colors now, but she was responsible for monitoring and being with the women to make sure that they weren't being abused or taken advantage of by others, that they could come to her and talk about it. So just being that strong person, that caring person, she couldn't have done that without those lessons she went through.
Right.
So at some point, and my mentor, Ann Minton's passed away now, she'd always remind me that God's preparing you for the someday that will come. And it's,
Oh, wow, that's good.
and it's through these adversities He's allows or that I get myself into, right? That if I'll lean into Him and remember what Romans 8:29 is not talked about enough in my mind, is He uses that for His purpose, which is to shape us more into the likeness of Christ, which we know won't be complete till we draw our last breath. So that's what I try to remember with my 2 burnt toast moments this week, is that if I go back into who I was in my past, I let that past hold me prisoner, then I'm not going to feel good. I may give up on a dream I have. Why try? Those are some of my thoughts. And I just got to remember that God will use this for me to be more Christ-like and serve the people, the portion He's given me, those people to serve.
Right. That's good.
So tell us, what is it you enjoy about the being of you? And what's your child's name?
Hunter.
So
Yes.
what is it you enjoy just about being in Hunter's presence?
She is fierce. Like, she's fierce. She is a leader. She likes to take care of people.
Yeah.
She's a hard worker. And so sometimes those things come off super pushy.
Yeah.
But when you see it deep down, like, she's the first to help. She's the first to come and do things. And she's actually a joy. But her self-talk keeps her just sad, very angry.
Yeah.
It's tough.
You know, one thing, I was at a women's conference and they gave us all mirrors
Hey.
and asked us to look at ourselves and say words of affirmation over ourselves.
Ooh.
Gay. I don't know why that is so hard. Have you ever tried doing anything like
No,
with
but
her?
that just took my breath away. Just when you said that, I was thinking, no way, Jose.
And now it's like, do we need to get that mirror back out and make you look at yourself again? Like, it should not be that hard. But like, I've been, and this will be a whole nother episode about therapy, but I have been going to a therapist and talking about how you see yourself. You learn so much from just asking other people what they see in you.
Amen.
And last year was really hard for me, but she's like, look back at all these things that you went through. Was it easy? No, it wasn't easy. But did you make it through to the other side? Yes, I did. And now that I've been through those things, like, this podcast is kind of where it led me, because we as people just don't talk honestly with each other about the things that we go through. Like, we see the highlight reels on social media and think, oh, I wish I could be them. But we don't think about how there are people that would give anything to live your worst day.
Yeah.
So, I don't know, we just need to talk to each other more. We need to be honest with each other. Like, everybody struggles with issues with self-talk.
Absolutely. And, you're reminding me of the importance of self-compassion. and self-kindness, and being able just to give yourself a hug sometimes. You know, this may sound silly to some, and I've read and follow Dr. Susan David. She wrote the book Emotional Agility, if you're familiar with her. And that's where I learned the word in Zulu, because she opens it up on her TED Talk. But she gave me the idea. She didn't say this. She gave me the idea. I just drew a little stick figure of John Jr. on a piece of paper and put him on a chair. And then I slid another chair up with my knees touching it. And I loved on that little boy. Because what I realized going through that class, and one of the teachers said, well, what's going on with you, John? It's my turn in the middle, right? Well, I just think I'm mentally blind, Steve. Oh, John, you're not mentally blind. Whether you get it right or not, if you think it's right in your mind, you feel okay with yourself. He said, you're emotionally blind. Wow. How you feeling now, John? Well, that Coke can started building up. I don't know, Mr. Psychiatrist, man. Why don't you tell me?
Isn't that your job?
And he said, you're hurt. And man, that released it. That day released everything. Now I knew where all this was coming from. So when I have those moments now, I know it's that 7-year-old little boy that's still hurting some. He's not fully healed. And I just love on him.
Wow. That's a hard thing to do.
Yeah.
What are some things that you say to yourself? Like just in your head. Like if you feel negative coming up, like what do you say?
The one thing I do is, first of all, I want to separate myself from that emotion. A lot of times, maybe you said this, if I was to ask you and your audience that's watching and listening, think of the last time you were angry, who was present, what was the situation. And then if we're in a workshop, I'd ask you to close your eyes and feel that moment. And this time I'd have a little beach ball that you get, and you take that beach ball and you put it next to your heart, and that becomes that emotion. And then I want you to say as loud as you can, that's what I share, I am angry. Louder, I'm angry, louder. And people are screaming, I'm angry. Now that emotion is inside you. Well, if I say I am, that emotion becomes my identity now. And it shapes how I'm going to show up. So what I learned from Dr. Susan David is hold the emotion out here. And you state, I'm experiencing anger. I'm feeling angry. Now when I do that, what it lets me do is say, okay, well, what's that emotion trying to tell me? So now I get to see it as data, not a directive. So now I'm using it to inform me. And 3 or 4 years ago, I was experiencing sadness. So I didn't know what the definition was at the time. I just Googled it. And part of it said you're experiencing loss. I haven't lost anybody, or I still got my job. Then it hit me. Wow, Mom's been in a nursing home for 5 years with dementia. And when I call, I don't know if it's good mom or bad mom. And it's tough. Now, while she's still living, it's not mom. And what I learned from that, I looked up what is sadness informing me that I have a need that isn't met. And it was, you need to process the loss. So I went back home, sat down with Laura, and I said, baby, now let me just talk this out. I was crying, going through a lot, but then it hit me. I'm okay now. Because I had that conversation. And if it's just a moment, I just really learned to, if it's with somebody, hey, be curious, not furious with them.
That's good.
And just say, hey.
Yeah, that's really good.
Hey, you're okay. I'm okay. I want to hear you out. So I think a lot of times, even alone, I tell that little boy inside of him, hey man, you're safe. You're not in danger.
So it's not dwelling on those emotions. It's pulling those emotions out and doing the detective work to figure out why they're there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You're becoming curious with yourself. Yeah, really are. And that's, when we get to the burnt toast, I'll talk about that a little bit more.
Well, let's talk about it.
Let's do it.
Your burnt
All right.
toast moment.
Well, let's see. I said I had 2 of them, right? I had said I had 2 of them. I can remember one of them now. What was the first one? See, I'm be 65 in November, y'all. Now used to I'd go, geez, I suck. I can't even remember something from 3 minutes ago. But I just know it's part of life.
Yeah.
It's who I am right now. In fact, if I walk in a room and remember why I went in there, I am tickled to death. So,
I know.
So the first one, the second one was, I invested more money. You notice how I just said the word invested? More money than I anticipated in this conference at Thrive Chattanooga, which, by the way, was amazing success. People want to do it again. And then I went and looked at my cash on hand for my business, because I will not touch my retirement income. And I go, wow, I've got enough to operate 7 months now, and I got no business coming in. And then it hit me, and this is Satan. Yeah, John, remember, you've got an unhealthy relationship with money. And I just invested a firm to work with a Christian business coach that's going to help me map out how to reach my customers. And I went, well, maybe I can cancel that, because we haven't even done our first session yet. You see how I'm trying to find ways to feel like I'm okay? And then I just stopped. Write all this out, John. Get everything out you're thinking, including how you're beating yourself up right now. That money's always been your issue, and it comes back to bite you every time. When are you going to get it right? I said, wait. You're going to be okay. You got a couple of gigs coming up later in the year. That's going to flush you out. NASA is eventually, who I've got a contract with, they're eventually going to come back on board. And if they don't, it's okay, because you're going to learn from this Christian business coach who has worked with some very big names, John Maxwell, Ziegler Corporation.
Yeah.
And you're going to actually, in a full day, map out how you go after your corporate clients and how you build a online program with group coaching for people who just want to become a better leader, who want to lead themselves well so they have a greater impact leading others. So I started talking about the future, because there's something called above the line and below the line thinking. Below the line thinking is, I'm not responsible enough. Oh, if it wasn't for Jerry always coming in and causing me to do this, I never get anything right. So I was working with students at Priceville and Future Business Leaders of America, and I took them through the 3 brain states, which maybe if I can come back, we can talk about those. And then I had them come up to look at the above the line and below the line. Anybody want to share one of the words that they think about? Joshua raised his hand. Lack of responsibility. Well, talk about it, Joshua. Well, my mom and dad give me 4 to 6 chores every week, and I might get 3 or 4 of them done, and I just don't think I'm responsible. All right, let's pause there. Let's look above the line. Words like flexibility, ask for help, write out a plan. What's one of the words you could choose there, Joshua, that might help you get out of this below the line negative thinking into actions you can take, kind of like I did with what I wanted to do? Flexibility. All right, tell us about it, Joshua. I'm going to be an engineer in college, and I'm working my best to maintain my 4.0. I'm on quite a few sports teams, so we got practice for that, and I'm in the clubs like this one. All right, so tell me more. Well, I get everything done at school. Maybe if I don't get all the tasks Mom and Dad asked me to do done, it's okay, because I've done my best. Man, that's awesome, man. Give them a round of applause, y'all. You see, so recognizing the mind state you're in, and then looking at how you can have a conversation what the future looks like, can let you own that moment and be in the present and not live in the past. And then I asked Joshua a question. Did your mom and dad say you lack responsibility? I've never heard him say that. Wow. And you saw it sit up straighter, his shoulders come up. So it's just recognizing where you are, like you're watching a TV show, but you're not in the TV show. Is that making any sense at all?
Yeah. No, there's a book that I've read, and I need to read it again, called Untethered Soul, and I talk about it all the time, but it really helps you to recognize the thoughts in your head and grab hold of them, because I think that was one thing for me, is I was just spiraling and not paying attention to what was happening, and now I can recognize that my thoughts are out of control, and I can just say stop. And shut it down.
Raise your right hand, pat yourself on the back, right? Yeah. And I would encourage you, and maybe you've done this already, is understand what's the root of that story. Because mine was perfectionism. I had to be better than everybody else, and I had to do it over and over again just to think I had value. And that'll wear you out.
Yeah. Don't worry, my therapist is working on that with me.
All right, good. Is that another episode?
Yeah, that's another episode.
There's so many.
Well, let's get into your book a little bit more.
Yeah.
So you have 3 books you've authored so far, and one about to come out.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
So you have a 1-year journey for living a positive life in a complicated world. Why don't you talk about that a little bit?
Well, that's interesting. Both of you know that I lost a 28-year-old daughter to prescription drug addiction. So for 8 years, it was just burying myself in work because that's where I got my value. I was in a funk, gained 50 pounds, still got about 25 of it on me, right? Again, I'm not letting that beat me up. Stretch your pants is a good thing.
Right?
And a friend of mine said, John, this ain't you, man. He said, well, I want you to find 52 quotes, and I want you to read one every day and see if we can get you out of this funk. Well, that led to just that short little book of, here's a quote, like, one's on flexibility, don't get bent out of shape. And we give you maybe 150 words to get you thinking, 3 actions to take, and then some self-reflection questions. And so that's one that I teach and give to teams for them just to use it on a weekly basis. Let's just go through one together, discuss how that can help us, how that can benefit us, and also recommend to the teams that you choose different leaders every week. So now it can be used as getting to know each other better, but also you learning how to work and influence teams and lead yourself and others at the same time.
Okay, and your new book, I know you talked a little bit about that.
Mm-hmm.
You want to talk a little bit more?
Yeah, I went to a book writers club, book writers retreat. Gentleman that's a well-known speaker. He's written 7 books, and people want to know, tell us your process. So we're out there, and I'm thinking I'm going to write this book that's full of theory, and I've got to do all this research, and I'm already hating it. Putting it on myself.
Yeah.
And you got a guy named Bob Kaufman, who is the president of a health club that does franchises. He travels all over the world. Brilliant. And he's struggling on what I write. There's too much information, and you want to know my target audience. I don't have a clue. And Dave Averin, the guy that's hosting it, looked at Bob and said, Bob, I just want you to write. Let's don't worry about an outline. Don't worry about chapters. Just start writing what you'd tell 20-year-old Bob. And also, Bob, don't even care if the book sells. Ding, 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 ding. Freedom. And that's when the idea with the timeline came about. So the first chapter is Know Your Story. That's your very first chapter with the Coke can incident. And what I learned from that is I'm giving you a leadership declaration at the end of each chapter. Affirmation declaration. And this one is, I am not my past. I own my story, and I choose the leader I'm going to become. Because Jim Cathcart has a great question. He's also a Hall of Fame speaker. He says, just ask yourself, when you get ready to do something that's uncomfortable, you don't know how you're going to do it, how would the person I'm becoming do what I'm about to do? So we can change that person to leader, to mom, to dad, to brother, to sister, to community leader. How would the person I'm becoming do what I'm about to do? And so we've got 28 total chapters written in different instances in my life. Maybe I was just a viewer of something that occurred. One is on a toxic leader who on day 3, he started on the Monday, I started on Monday, called me into his office and said, hey, who pays your salary? The Army. No. Who pays your salary? I'm feeling dad talking to me, right?
Yeah.
I said, well, you do. I'm catching on now. Well, this guy took his shoes off, put his feet up on the table, socks. He clipped his fingernails.
Oh, gosh.
And it was just an ugly environment. And I decided to call my previous boss. I said, hey, Miss Bennett, have you filled that position behind me yet? No, John, why? What's going on? I told her the story. She says, why don't you come back? I said, I was hoping you'd say that. So I went in the next day, had the courage to have a conversation with that man. And he said, thought things went well yesterday. What about you? That's what I'm here to talk to you about. I didn't think it went well. I said, our team and I will meet your goals, but I cannot work under these conditions to be a good leader. So I had the courage in that moment, even though of the way I was being treated. He threw his pencil up in the air, it come down, landed on his table, and said, I failed my first day. I stood up, held my hand out, and said, I learned from some great Air Force and Army leaders that failure is an event, not a person, and walked out of his office.
Ooh.
So that's one of the stories about being able to have the courage when someone is toxic towards you or not treating you well. How do you
Right.
own that moment and make the choice that's best for you? And actually, it was best for him at the same time too. So,
It's tough.
hmm
Well, so your book is going, what's the release date?
we're hoping the first week of August.
Okay.
We do have a goal to start some pre-sales within the next month. That'll be ebooks that we can
Awesome.
try to get some pre-sales done, and just excited. This is the one where if it sells, great. If not, it's going to be my calling card for businesses as well, and it's kind of my legacy book. May write another one. I don't know. The one that's on top of my head right now is learning how to pray God's word.
That's good. I can see you writing another one.
So-
I think you have lots more books in
Oh,
you.
thank you.
So where will they be able to purchase it?
Yeah, we're gonna have it on Amazon, of course, and the publisher's gonna put it in a lot of different areas. The ebook will be on Amazon and both Barnes and Noble, and looking forward to try to get as many sales as we can early. So when we do the book launch, we'll have a potential to make some type of bestseller list if we can do that.
Okay, awesome. So, in ending, do you have any words of encouragement for the people out there?
Yeah, I want you to remember that no matter what you've been through, that's not who you are unless you attach yourself to it. And I think I said in the beginning is, I was allowing my past to hold me a prisoner instead of being a pioneer for my future. And I want you to also know that emotions are normal. In the world, we label them as good or bad or negative, positive. They're just data. They're just data. Learn how to separate yourself from those emotions and latch on to a quote or a Bible verse, some declaration that you can read over and over and over. I'm working with a young man right now who's in a tough spot, and what I have chosen to do is to write him a daily prayer. And in that daily prayer, I provided him a declaration that I want him to read daily. Because you see, the brain can be reprogrammed, right? And we know that. But to reprogram it, that means I've got to put in something different. So I look at the brain as the hardware, the firmware like a computer, but your mind is the software. You see, God didn't say renew your brain. He said renew your mind. And renewing of the mind means we are literally programming it differently. And the way we do that is through His Word, through fellowship with fellow believers, but also the way we talk to ourselves.
Yeah, that's good. So we want to end every episode with a Bible verse, and I ask you to bring one today. What is your verse?
I won't get it exactly right because I dropped my phone and can't read it. It's Romans 8:28 with Romans 8:29. We always hear Romans 8:28, and it talks about that God does things for His purpose, which is good. And I learned that through the death of my daughter. And why does He do that? Because He wants to transform us more into the likeness of Christ, as I talked about earlier. And also, it's hard to believe, but rejoice in all things. And that can be tough sometimes because of the pain you're going through. And what does that require? It requires me to think about eternity, because I can't fight a spiritual battle with an earthly mind. And so that's the importance of my journey, is knowing God's Word better. I know how to drive down the streets and see the words, but I don't quote them all perfectly, and I'm okay with that too. But I cannot fight a spiritual battle with an earthly mind. And that's how Satan deceives us, just like he did Eve in the beginning.
Right.
Well, the first step is being willing, right?
Come on. Come on now.
All right, John, thank you so much for being on today. I'm going to end with this. Remember, your mindset is like your morning coffee. It sets the tone, so keep it strong, a little sweet, and don't let anyone spill it. Stay kind, stay curious, and we'll see you next time on the Beauty and Burnt Toast.
Thank you.
Perfect. Great job.